Hi everyone! So, this is Lucy, targeted individual from London. Okay, so I thought I would just mention why I haven't been making a video for so long. And I'll tell you why. It's because I keep on having these weird coincidences that make me doubt what is true and what is not. And this is probably why I think it's about time that I explained what's been happening with these coincidences, synchronicity, because sometimes the synchronicity is fake, it's set up by these agents and perps, but at other times it is real. Okay, so to get right into it, I first started noticing something weird, right? Because I was raised as an Orthodox Jew, and part of this whole experience has been showing me the problems with some of the traditional doctrines, and I'm quite interested in putting things right, because a lot of people say, but there's spirituality. Yes, that's true. And other people say, but the doctrines don't make sense. But that is true also, and this is the problem. So anyway, I'll just tell you the first thing that I noticed. It happened ages ago now. I was very upset one day about the animals, because I'm an animal lover. Okay, I can't remember if I said this story before on one of my videos, but I'll say it again. Anyway, so they had annoyed me, I think, and I started feeling that all the animals that are currently being abused or brutalised as part of an animal holocaust. I mean, there are Mengeles out there, from the Nazis, who are just free to abuse animals because we don't have the level of social advancement yet. Yeah, we have a lot of people who are advanced and using advanced technology, but we also have a lot of people who are massively, massively backwards and primitive, basically, in the way that they behave, brutalising people, abusing people. Those are behaviours that need to be wiped out, cleared away. So anyway, I felt that while they are wasting my time with all this claptrap, with these perps and the street theatre, and getting me upset and making me waste my time, they are stopping me from doing the things that are really important in life. And they're not doing the important things either, but they're stopping people who are trying to do the important things and helping animals. So anyway, I made a massive prayer. And I said this massive prayer about the animals being, suffering and all the horrible things that I've seen happen to animals. Anyway, on that occasion, I had a Bible with about 1,000 pages in it. And I opened the Bible at random. And on that very page, that particular page I happened to open at random was covered in diagrams of animals. Just after I had made a massive prayer about animals and animal protection. So I looked in the Bible and I found that there was no other page like it in the Bible. And the Bible had about 1,000 pages in it, at least. So I thought, how on earth could that be, that I make a prayer about animals and then I open the Bible at complete random. And I happened to open it at the page which covered in a diagram of animals, and there was no other page like it in the Bible. I checked, and there was one other page, and it had I think there was one other page with a couple of diagrams of animals, but no other page was completely covered in animals like that page. So that was the first time that I noticed something was weird, okay, in terms of synchronicity. But that's not the only time. And another time, for example, what they had been doing to me, part of their Nazi ideology, which you can see they roll out to the media and to millions of people, was that, the Nazi idea of genetic supremacy, which is that the Aryans are the best in the world and they're supreme, has continued, not because of decent people or ordinary society, but because we are facing the Nazis. This is an organised Nazi system. You see, people in England are so accustomed to this media that they don't think there's anything wrong with it. They think, oh, that's normal, Aryans are just better than everyone else, but that's just normal and stuff, yeah? But you see, what people in England don't realise is that the Nazis are in fact a global issue. So, for example, in Brazil, in a town that is 80% majority black, they have been selling Barbie dolls to all the black children. we've got places in Brazil that are majority black African descendants, but all the children have been given Barbie dolls. The Barbie dolls are on their school satchels, on their t-shirts, on their toys, on the TV, their sunglasses, their shoes. Every single place that it's possible to have an image of the Barbie doll has been put on all these black children. So the whole idea of Aryans being better than everybody else is not as natural as you think. It actually comes from the Nazis. Now, as I say, I've got Aryan family, so, you know, I've got perspective on this. You know, and my family happen to be really decent vegans. You know, they are really considerate about other people's feelings. They spend their whole lives trying to encourage others not to eat meat and not to harm animals, and to, you know, also I know that there are really nice people around, you know, but that doesn't stop the Nazis doing something weird, sick and twisted. Okay, so it's a very real problem in terms of what's going on in the mass media and the glorification of these Aryan genes. Okay, so what they try to do to me is say, oh, you've got to bow down, you've got to be an inferior woman when there's an Aryan person, basically. When there's an Aryan woman, you are now automatically a second-class woman, and that's because this woman is Aryan, you're not Aryan, and therefore you are less of a female, you're less attractive, you are less beautiful, you are just less of a person, you are less of a female compared to this Aryan female. And they have been ramming that into my head for about 20 years, okay? And of course, at the beginning, I thought, blimey, this society is evil, it's Nazi, that's a horrible thing to say. But now I realise, obviously, it's all being done deliberately, so don't worry. Anyway, but I remember once, recently, I was out just in town and everything, and I live in a sort of an ethnically diverse part of town, you know, so it's quite mixed, you know. And yeah, basically, there was one occasion where I was just buying some fruit, and I was just had my headphones in, and I was like sort of trying to rush and everything. So anyway, so I decided to take my headphones out because, you know, I couldn't hear the guy when he was speaking, basically, and I love my music. So anyway, so I was just taking my headphones out, and my headphones, as I took them out, they became caught up in the plastic bag. So because they got caught up in the plastic bag, I actually had to bend down slightly to unwrap my headphones. And then, as soon as I looked up, I realised that there was this group of people coming towards me, and basically just at that time there happened to be a white woman walking past me. Okay, now look, my mother is white, okay, so please don't worry when I say that, because I know that there is a distinction between the sacred and the profane. I know that very well, and I know that more than ever now, so don't worry if you're like, oh my god, is she going to hate me too now? No, I don't hate normal, nice people. I do hate Nazis, and I hate people who think they're better when they are not. So, but the point of fact is that was pure energy. That wasn't anything that they had set up. They couldn't have created that happening with my headphone. That was an energetic response from the universe because of the amount of times that they have rammed that idea into my brain. Basically, they can make things happen, unnatural things happen, simply because of the sheer power of repetition. They are creating thought energy. So what happened basically is that my head was dragged downwards at the very moment this person was walking past, by sheer chance. It was sheer coincidence. And this has happened, you know, countless times as well, basically. So what I've noticed that they're doing is that they have found a way to manipulate energy. But that's not the only coincidence, and I'll tell you a few more. A long time ago, I had found that my house had been broken into because my shower had been damaged, and I've got a video of that up on my YouTube channel. And when I went to confront my neighbour, who I now know, I'm sure, is in on this, he ran up the stairs and kicked my door really loudly. Now, I am a brave person, and I don't feel that this person was going to attack me, But at the end of the day, objectively, I'm still a young female, and this guy was a huge guy. And he massively battered my door. He kicked my door. So, in October 2018, I had written a list of crimes that the people had committed. And it was just a list of about 10 things that I knew that they were responsible for, although we all know now that they're responsible for so much more. Anyway, I just put it on the door. This was a list of really serious crimes. So, for example, the Twin Towers, Grenfell Tower, the tower that I know that they blew up in Sao Paulo in Brazil. Also, the mysterious collapse of Sugarloaf, a mountain in Africa that collapsed upon children. But also things like the dog that I knew that they mutilated, and they left it with a festering wound for days and days and days, so that flies had got into it and was basically eating it alive. Anyway, after I put the piece of paper with the list of crimes on the door, I opened the Bible. And on that page, it happened to mention the word sword. Okay, now, the word door did not appear on that page. It was just the word sword. So anyway, I then started to transfer some music from my computer to my phone, and there was a song I liked called Judgment Day. So I was just going to download the song. It's on YouTube. It's a video on YouTube, and I've got this converter that you can put the link of the video and it comes out as an MP3 FLV downloader. Anyway, but as I was downloading this song called Judgment Day, I noticed that the rapper was in the video sitting on a chair with a sword in his hand. And at the moment I was watching that video, the lyrics of the song were, "You have a minute or more to run for the door." Now, I then went out to the supermarket and I got a taxi home. And as I got the taxi home, the taxi took me round a road where they had graffiti on the wall. And I noticed that there was a boy, a picture of a young boy with a sword. So what it seemed like is that in combination with the Bible and my own personal interaction of putting that list of crimes on the door, it was almost as though energy was being created of saying there was going to be a judgment for their crimes that was listed on the door. After I put the list up of the crimes on the door, I opened the Bible again, perhaps a day or so later, and the first words were, "My son, keep a path far from her door." There was another time when they had been insulting me and humiliating me and provoking me, and I lost my temper. But because I lost my temper, they then said, "Oh, that's an excuse now for us to attack you even more." So what I did is I remembered the concept of the Iron Dome that they have in Israel. It's an idea where there is like technology that is able to detect anything that flies over the airspace, and that's supposed to be an Iron Dome where it's going to be protecting the people. So I, again, wrote on a piece of paper, Iron Dome, and I stuck it on my door. I just wrote the words Iron Dome on my door as a reminder to myself that I was in this situation, because it's normal to react and cry out when somebody's hurt you, but because I'm living with these kinds of people, when I cry out, they use that as another excuse to hurt me. So I put that piece of paper on my door again. This was a little while later, maybe a few weeks later. And I opened the Bible again at random. I flipped backwards and forwards through the pages. I turned the Bible upside down over and over again, just to make sure that the page would be at complete random. And when I opened the Bible, on that page was the word iron. Now, I had just written the word iron and stuck it on my door. Now, at this point, you may start thinking, is she saying the truth? Is this true? And all I can say is that I have got no way of proving this to you. What I can say, though, is that all these people who are watching my life and doing all this kind of stuff are definitely watching this kind of occult, energetic, metaphysical, universal stuff. It's happened so many times. Another time it happened, it gets even more. So, what happened is, I have got this app on my phone, which is a Bible codes app. And you are able to search for words in the Bible to see where they come up. So you can search your name, for example. You can search all kinds of things. And it actually, if you haven't heard about Bible codes, I definitely think you should check it, because that is what changed my opinion from being a Jew into being a real believer. The things I had seen, and that was back in 1999, were absolutely outstanding. But anyway, so I decided to check for this person who had kicked my door in the Bible codes just to see what would come up. And I found that even though his name was not mentioned directly, because there's no one called Robert in the Bible, the roots of his name were in the Bible. And I searched, and the first time that the roots of this person's name came up was in Genesis 3:3. And that was the passage that said about the warning that if the Adam and Eve touch the tree of life, they will die. So basically I thought, right, okay. So I went out and I came back. And then when I came back, I realised that my house had been potentially broken into again. Basically what had happened is the Bible code had said about if you touch the door, you'll die. When I came back, they had disturbed my security seal on my house. And that was really destabilising for me, because I don't know who's been in my house. If my food or my things have been contaminated, I have to go and buy everything again. I have to wash everything. And it's a real emotional problem for me. And I've actually self-harmed, so because of it. So each time that neighbour had been, playing the bad man, I was actually self-harming because he was getting paid. So, I wasn't much of a fan of him, basically. Anyway, so the Bible says you have to call for justice. Rather than saying you're going to get this or you're going to get that, you've got to leave it into God's hands. You've got to leave justice to God. That's what it says in the Bible. So anyway, so I said justice in Roberto's honour, because that's his name, Roberto. I also said, look, I need weapons. I said, look, I've got to have some kind of weapon against these people, because I can't keep on taking a beating from these people because of the honour of people like that. People who are, laughing and getting paid while I'm self-harming. And now if I say that I don't like him, I'm now going to get another beating for his honour. So I said justice in Roberto's honour, and I put that piece of paper on the door. Anyway, I then decided to search on YouTube for information about weapons, just to see about strategy, how other people deal with these kinds of military or conflict situations. And do you know what came up? A book called The 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene. And this book contained hundreds upon hundreds of military techniques and ways of dealing with conflict situations, things that I had never heard about before. It was essentially a book of weapons, of how I could deal with this strategically. That book had been written in 2006, and it was the same numbers as Genesis 3:3, where his name had come up in the Bible. So it was almost as though I had been given weapons in his honour, because the book had been written by Robert Greene. It was called The 33 Strategies of War. And I will also mention that, I'm not sure if you know or not, but 33 or 33 are the Illuminati numbers for Jesus. And that's another thing that they're interested in as well, basically, because it's about, again, breaking free of the false religious traditions. And that's what Jesus did. He said, wait a second, yes, there is spirituality, but the religion that you're creating is wrong. And that's why the Pharisees killed Jesus, because they couldn't take the truth. They were so confused, they were so pumped up with their own falsehood that they couldn't see the wood for the trees, and they thought that he was the negative person when in fact they were doing something wrong. But that's not the only example. So for example, this has been happening for at least a year or 2 years now, perhaps even more, but I've got my diary here from the beginning of the year. Now, as I said, they had been saying that I am less than a female, I can't keep a man, and all this kind of things. So there happened to be one boy that, well, it seemed as it was probably a fake perp account, but I wasn't sure. And I just started to think he was quite attractive, basically. You know, I met him online. It was a fake account. I now realise he was probably a fake account. But I met him online. We're all being friends, blah, blah, blah. And he said, oh, you know, let's go out. And I said, yeah, why don't you come out? We can go out for New Year's Eve. So he wrote a comment saying, oh, I'm going to come in a bunny suit. Okay? And that was on New Year's Eve about 8 or 9 years ago. So, because they had kept on saying that I wasn't attractive, I thought, look, life is too short. So I wrote to him and said, oh, hi there. I've been thinking about you recently. How's it going? I remember many, many years ago on New Year's Eve, you said that you were going to come and meet me in a bunny suit. This was in December 2018, on the 31st of December 2018. So, just this New Year's Eve gone. On the 1st of January 2019, I opened the Bible, randomly again, at page 798, and would you believe that the second passage on that page says, from the Levites, Shemaiah, son of Hashab, the son of Azikram, the son of Hashabiah, the son of Bunny. So I was like, wait a second. Right, that's a bit weird and random. Yeah, it is a bit weird and random. But what I think it shows is that there is some kind of power here. There is some kind of energetic force. There is an energy. And this is what they are playing with. Now, as I say, you're either going to believe me or you're not. But I can swear hand on my heart. I can swear on my cat's grave. Because I love my cat to pieces. That I am not lying. I mean, this kind of stuff is happening every couple of days now, and it's getting more and more. There has been so much of this, I actually don't know where to start, and I'm not saying, I'm probably giving you about a drop in the ocean of what's happening, if you can believe it. But, so for example, the most powerful thing I've ever seen in my life has happened just this month, in February. So, because this had been so weird with the Bible, I started thinking, they might have put me under some kind of technology. Now, there's a phenomenon called, if you've heard of autism, there's a phenomenon called savant autism. That is where the brain is not normal, but it has some kind of abnormal or supernatural ability. So, for example, autistic savants are able to see a landscape just once for a couple of minutes or even seconds, and then they can completely recreate it from scratch without looking at the photo. And there was a massive one about this guy who looked at the landscape of New York, I think it was, or someplace in America, and he saw it for a couple of minutes. He went over it in a helicopter and he came back and he was able to draw it all from memory. Savants are also able to, there's a study by somebody called Sachs where there was a bunch of pencils and they all fell on the floor, and at the very moment they fell on the floor, the autistic savant was able to say the exact number of pencils. There were about 101 pencils that had all fallen to the floor at the same moment, and the savant was able to immediately count the number of pencils. Okay? Those things are not ordinarily possible by ordinary humans. There has to be some kind of brain mechanism. And what it shows is that a lot of the processing that the normal, or so-called normal human brain does obscures a lot of the human perception. So we have massive, massive abilities that we are not even conscious of or tapping into because we're not aware of them. But autistic savants, there is something in the brain that enables them to cut through all the confusion and see things in a clear way that we are not able to see. So I thought, well, maybe they are tapping into my brain with autistic savants in some kind of way. They are touching the part of my brain that is the savant capability, and that's why I'm able to open the Bible at these pages. Because I thought, they must have got a copy of this Bible, they must have known what's on the pages. They are maybe telling my brain, open it at page 100 or something, and then my brain just, even though I'm turning the Bible up and down and round and flipping it over, countless times, I'm thinking it must be because they are zapping my brain. So I said, right, I'm going to overcome that possibility, and I'm going to do it in a completely random way. So what I did is I cut up pieces of paper and I put them into bags. The Bible I've got at the moment, it's a new Bible, it's got about 1,800 pages. So in the first bag, I put either 1 or 0, because that would be either, is it the pages up to 1,000 or pages over 1,000. And then in the second bag, I put the numbers, 111, 222, 333. So it could possibly come up as, basically, there's 4 numbers it could be. I scrunched the pieces of paper up, I shook the bag over and over and over and over and over again, and I said, right, now there's no way anybody can zap my brain. I'm shaking the bag, I'm shaking them only 10 times each, so it's not that they can zap my brain to shake it more times so their numbers can come out. It's going to be 100% random. I've got these numbers scrunched up in the bag, I'm shaking the bag only 10 times, so the number has got to come out, it's got to be real. Do you know that the first time I did it with that method, the number came out 1336. And remember, as I said, there was the whole thing about the numbers 33. Okay? Now, I'm not going to go into all the amazing things that were on that page, because it's going to require hours, perhaps, of explaining everything. But I will go on to the another thing, another time that it happened. And this was on the 10th of February. They had been, again, insulting me, attacking me, saying I'm not good enough, all this kind of stuff. And I opened the Bible, and the numbers came out 0, 2, 0, 0, right? So I was like, okay, so I'm going to look at page 200. Now, on that page, it was talking about the rules for the priests in Leviticus. And one of the things that it said, which is, for better or worse, is that no person who is dwarfed can do the temple service. So I thought, wait a second, now that's actually a really horrible word to say to somebody, because there's a couple of people with that condition around here. And I just thought, do you know what? The amount of times that they have insulted me and put me down would be like me saying that word to somebody. For example, some comedians make a joke about it, but I don't think it's funny at all. Saying something that is really hurtful. And I thought, do you know what? The amount of times that they have insulted me and said that I am inferior and just not good, it would be exactly like me saying that word to somebody else. I just imagined what it would be like saying that as an insult to somebody, because I know somebody who's got that condition around here. So I just imagined saying the word once, twice, 3 times, and then I realised that I couldn't put someone down 5 times. I said to myself, I couldn't even say that word 5 times, because it's such a horrible thing to say to somebody. But yet, these people are able to put me down and say those horrible things to me over and over again. And so I said, you know what? It's a bit like that film Candyman, because in the film Candyman, you're supposed to say, Candyman, Candyman, Candyman 5 times. And if you say it in the mirror 5 times, then the monster appears, the ghost or the evil person in the horror movie appears. So I was like, it was a bit like Candyman, because I was thinking, I couldn't insult somebody 5 times, but they've done it about 500,000 times, and I'm not even over-exaggerating. So I thought, for me, it was almost like going into another world and seeing the mindset, experiencing what must be in their mind, to be able to have the ability to say a horrible thing to somebody so many times. Anyway, the next day, I was watching an episode of a series that I happen to like, and I had been watching the previous 4 episodes. It was a cooking programme about food. And I got to the 5th episode. And you know what they had made in that episode? Candied beetroot. And it was in episode 5. Now, I had just been talking about Candyman, the film Candyman, saying the word Candyman 5 times as a direct result of what I had seen in the Bible. And then the next day, I just happened to watch the 5th episode of this series and they mentioned candied beetroots. I mean, they just don't make candied things all the time. It just happened to come up the day after, right? Okay? So that was absolutely huge for me. So, I was like, right, okay. Now, on the 18th of February, which was a week later, the story broke in the news that 7 Labour MPs had split from the Labour Party. Now, that only broke on the 18th of February, but we all know that had been planned from a long time ago. And do you know what people were calling them? They were saying that they were the Gang of 7 or the 7 Dwarfs. Okay, there was a video made by somebody in particular who had called them the 7 Dwarfs because they had turncoated from the Labour Party. Okay, so I was like, right, okay, maybe the person who made the video about the 7 Dwarfs had been zapped into saying it, you know. But the fact remains is that these 7 Labour MPs had left, and that decision to leave was a long, long time before I had opened the Bible on the 10th of February and saw the word about the dwarf. Right? Then, on the 20th of February, I had just been talking over Facebook Messenger with a friend I hadn't spoken to for a very long time. She's a friend from, it's not exactly the Middle East, but it's near to the Middle East. I'm not going to say her name or anything, but we had been talking because she had just had a daughter, and the daughter looked very much like her, and I loved her very much. So I was making a bit of a fuss about her. I won't say her daughter's real name either, but it was very similar to, for example, Rata, R-A-T-A, for example. Let's just say it was that. It's not that, but it was very similar. On the 21st of February, I opened the Bible again. I used the method which is foolproof. I mean foolproof. And I pulled out the numbers because I've kind of got into this by now. I pulled out the numbers 0, 0, 7, 0. Okay, that was on the 21st of February, which is only a couple of days ago now. On that page, I will tell you what it said. Okay, this was the story about Judah and Tamar. Now, the name Tamar has the exact same letters of my friend's daughter's name. When I opened the Bible to page 70, which is 0070, it said the name Judah and Tamar. Now, that was very similar to the name of my friend's daughter. And it said on page 71, because it was the other side, it said the story about Tamar, who had done something wrong. She had been a prostitute or something, and Judah said, bring her out and have her burned to death. Okay? On the 21st of February, I found out, later that day, I found out that 7 Syrian children had been burned in a fire in Canada. Now, unfortunately, this is not the first time that I have been forced to be conscious of their brutal atrocities. For example, I had been listening to this, I love my music, and I had got this song, I found the song with the lyrics, "You're on fire," basically, and I really liked that song. And then, a few weeks after I found that song, they kept me up all night, didn't let me sleep until, 5 o'clock in the morning or so. And it drives me mad, So I ended up jumping out of bed in a panic and playing this song and making a sort of prayer at the same time of just releasing my anger and just hoping that all the negative things would come back on them, basically. And then about 2 days later, we found out about Grenfell Tower and the fire there. And I'm not the only person who has been given premonitions of the Grenfell Tower disaster. And if you look at if you look at Seven's story, somebody called Seven, which is another interesting twist to this tale. She had family members who were killed in Grenfell Tower, and helicopters had been going around her cousin's property the night before the disaster happened. So it's clear that they have been giving targeted individuals an insight into their brutality, and I feel that having to see the 7 children now, the 7 Syrian children, because children, any hurt to any child is like the whole world collapsing. But how much more would it be so that you've had your house and your country bombed, and you've been forced to flee to another country who you're not even sure likes you, and then to be burnt in a fire? I feel that I don't want to live with these people and have them in my house anymore, and I've got to get out. And basically, I will just add a very last bit to this story, because it went on after that. On the 22nd of February, the day after I had the news about the children and the fire, I had gone out and they had tried to use technology again on me to humiliate me in public, which is what they always do. And I became so upset by it. I'm sure they put me under some kind of technology. My heart was beating. It just seemed like some kind of Leviathan monster. So I spoke out after they had humiliated me in public. I sort of said, I criticised them. But when I got back, I was concerned that each time I criticised them, they attacked me more. So I got quite worried about it. So I thought, do you know what? Given my experience of how this has gone, I've got quite a good sense that they're going to attack me. So I opened the Bible. I opened it to page 1551, using the paper method that I've explained. And on that page it said, it was a story in Luke, the book of Luke, where the guards start mocking Jesus and beating him up. It said, they blindfolded him and demanded, prophesy, who hit you? And they said many other insulting things to him. So this whole page, 1551 and 1550, was all about Jesus being beaten up. So then I was like, it said, for example, they kept shouting, crucify him, So then I thought, oh my God, what's going to happen? They're going to try and attack me tonight. I just can't do it. I can't cope with it. I haven't got the strength. I don't want to be driven mad tonight. So I said, God, what should I do? What should I do? I prayed, and I did the number thing with the Bible again. Shook the bags 10 times. Came out as 0, 1, 1, 1. Do you know, on that page, it was the story of the book of Exodus with the Passover of the angel of death. And God says to the Israelites to put the blood of the lambs on the doorposts so that the angel of death will pass over them. And by this time, after the burning children, I kind of felt that, this is the angel of death, and he wants to pass over my house tonight, and he wants to beat me up. So I went outside thinking, okay, I'll put a picture, a representation of the 7 children on the door. So I did that, took out 7 pieces of paper, I drew very basic images of children, people, and I put them all over the door. Do you know, I checked back the passage that said, put the blood of the lambs on the door. It says, then they are to take some of the blood and put it on the sides and tops of the door frames of the houses where they eat the lambs. Do you know, that is in Exodus chapter 12, passage 7. So if you have followed what I'm saying, is that, first of all, you've got to believe me when I'm saying all this. But secondly, if you can see, there is an energetic force that has power. And that's why I mentioned in my previous video that I don't know what you believe and what I believed in the past, but I'm telling you, the armour of God is very powerful. And I'll repeat it here. Keep on being truthful. Keep on being righteous. Be prepared to speak the gospel of peace. Keep your faith. Believe in salvation. Remember the words of God. Keep persevering. Keep praying. And be bold in making known the truth of the gospel. So, after that introduction, I'm now going to explain why I have stopped making videos for a couple of weeks. And that's because I keep on having weird synchronicity. It's happened a couple of times. So one day I'd been listening to a video made by another TI. And I had a blue tassel on the floor because I had been putting that blue tassel in between the door post to make sure that nobody could come in. And as I was just picking that blue tassel off the floor, the TI in their video said he was talking to somebody called Blue Diamond. And he said, "Oh, I'll just pull that up for you." As I was pulling up this blue tassel from the floor. So, this is not the first time it's happened with people who have made videos as well. That made me think, wait a second, that person must be a fake. He must be making the video as I am pulling up that tassel. It's not pre-recorded. It must be being recorded real time because I'm pulling up a blue tassel from the floor. Just at the moment he says, "Oh, hi there, Blue Diamond. Oh, I'll just pull that up for you." Okay? It's happened with another couple of TIs as well. That is just an example of what has happened as I've been listening to some of the TI videos. And I don't know if this is real or not, you see. So I don't know at the moment who is real or not because it's happened with a few TIs. When I've been listening to their videos, I've been doing something in my house and they've said something at the exact same time. Now it happened again today, but this time I looked at the video, I checked the video before I watched it. I searched through the video to listen to the video, to parts of the video before I played the whole thing, just to make sure that I would be still hearing the genuine video and not one that was recorded in real time. And it happened again. So I don't exactly know what's happening, but I definitely know that there is energy and it does have an effect. So I'm just making that video. As I say, believe it or not, it's up to you. I swear to God it's the truth. It's difficult to know who is true and who is fake at the moment, and I definitely think we need to come together to know, who is genuine and who's not. Okay, so that's all for now, and I wish you all the best, and I'll be back in touch when I have a bit more information. Sending all the best wishes in the world to all the genuine TIs.